Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and welcome to this week's episode of The Knife Guy. So I've been doing that lately because I always forget what episode we're on. If you are new to my channel, you just came out of some weird corner of the internet and you have no idea where you are or who I am a knife guy, knife user, knife collector, knife enjoyer of many sorts. We are all, assuming if you're watching this video, knife guys and knife gals in this super weird and crazy EDC and knife related world. We all go down our own unique paths, but oftentimes those paths intersect and we experience a lot of the same stuff. What I like to do on this particular series is pick up knives that are generally either mine or some of my generous viewers. In this case, these are all mine. I like to flip them, just sort of turn them over, mess with them. I should do a better job of that. A lot of times I do it like once or twice and then they just sit there for the rest of the episode. But anyways, I like to do that while I talk about some of this stuff, some of these shared experiences. Thanks to my generous patrons. You can find a link for my Patreon right down below. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Like I have been saying in my community tab, in the upload yesterday about DLT trading, and I'm going to repeat it again today. This is the end of the year. There's stuff coming. I understand people are holding out for Black Friday. Don't expect to get don't expect to get discounts on stuff like this. Why do you have Hinderers and Demcos out here right now? All the stuff that we can't get right now. That I know not everybody wants this stuff, but a lot of people watching, you guys are trying to get your hands on this stuff. If you're wondering, are you going to get a Black Friday deal on Hinderer and Demco? No. It's not going to happen. That's if you're new to the knife world, there's nothing wrong in asking that question, right? You'd assume a lot of retailers, a lot of knife makers, manufacturers will offer, Black Friday deals. You generally see that kind of stuff on like you see it on like Overstock and stuff that's in like massively plentiful supply, but the demand for Hinderer knives was already massive during the dead season of the knife world, and it's just going to go up right at the end. But a lot of waves of that stuff, just judging from the years that I've been doing this, because I've been collecting specifically Hinderer knives since, like 2014. Yeah, I've seen the end of the year repeat itself, right? A lot of retailers like DLT Trading, Blade HQ, GP Knives, River's Edge Cutlery, the ones I've got down below, or like Knives Plus, Southern Edges, E-Knives, PVK Vegas. I'm listing the ones that I generally go and check. There's countless others. A lot of times you see these waves of big stuff hit towards the end of the year, and that's because there's a bigger push from the maker's end, from the manufacturing end, right, to get a lot of this stuff in. That happens. It's a buying season, right? So, and this is a calculated guess. I'm not a professional on this. As a collector, somebody who loves the hunt and loves the euphoria of the hunt, I have seen this happen over and over and over again. Now, in previous years, Hinderers have been substantially more available. This is a different year. We're seeing a second Hinderer shortage. The last one being in 2000. It was like 2010 or 2009 to 2013. There was a Hinderer shortage back in Gen 3 and 4. We're seeing that again now. So this is a different year. What I'm saying is more are coming, but more people will be after them. And it's like I pointed out in that DLT video, right? People say, well, why would I even try? I don't even want to try. I don't have time to sit around at my computer and refresh a page over and over and over again until they drop. That's not how people are getting their hands on these. I want to reiterate this. If you're trying to get your hands on a Hinderer, number one, follow them on Instagram. But I don't have an Instagram. Make an Instagram. It's free. Man, you're not under any obligation with Instagram. You can just to be in the loop. It's a good idea. I don't know how to use it. It's easy. It's really easy to figure. You can figure out Instagram in 10 seconds, right? Follow them on Facebook. Follow the Hinderer Knives Users and Collectors group on Facebook. Sign up for email notifications at your favorite retailers, all of them. And subscribe to me and check my community tab because I constantly post drops because I do this. This is the kind of stuff that I do, right? What I'm saying is that if you sit there and think you just want it to fall into your lap, it's not going to happen. These are not, knives like this are not the Ontario rat. They're not the Benchmade Griptilian or the 940. They're not the Spyderco PM2, even though we've seen a shortage of those recently. They're not knives that are always there for when you decide you want one, right? It's not a knife that you can just Google. I know a lot of you have Googled XM18 3.5 inch for sale and scrolled endlessly. You've actually had to go to the second page of Google. And they're still not there. Frustrating, right? It's because they aren't sitting at retailers. Those people who have gone to the second page of Google have hunted them down and purchased them long ago. I myself, right? People are saying, man, this guy's preaching. He's got 6 Hinderers out there and 2 Demcos, right? Like this guy's sitting here preaching, oh, you just got to put more effort in it. Oh, listen, I've had these Hinderers for a bit and I've been collecting them for a while. Only recently have I started keeping them because I'm afraid to let them go. Yeah, I buy them when I get a chance, but I'm subject to the same hunting rules as everybody else. I have been trying to buy a new XM18 3.5 inch for months. And for those of you who think this whole episode is just going to be about Hinderer and Demco, no, it isn't. This is applicable for everything. So bear with me. I've been trying to get one for months. The demand for these things is so heavy right now, even being in the loop. The ones that I want, like I've had many opportunities to buy like a working finish this or that, or a different XM24. There was a different Eclipse drop. I've had many opportunities sitting right there in front of me in stock, and then, no, that's not the one that I want, right? Not saying that they're not cool and the ones that I want are cool. No, I'm just saying the one that I want hasn't dropped yet. I've been ready. And even though, you know, a lot of what I do is on YouTube, I can promise you my nose is not in every retailer at every second of every day. I only have a little bit of time every day to check this stuff, but I am, you know, following the right accounts and paying attention to the right areas so that I can be ready when that stuff does drop. For example, if DLT Trading does an exclusive, some of their no-choil stuff, they let people know on their Instagram. They say, hey, these are going to drop on this date at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, right? That's when a lot of times when they drop their Hinderer exclusives. I'm not saying that's when they drop all of their stuff. That's when they drop their Hinderer exclusives. So I go, okay, so I'm ready. And generally, yeah, there's a little bit of it makes the website a little sluggish. Sometimes it crashes it, right? There's generally a good, 5 to 15 minute window, sometimes 30-minute window to get your hands on a Hinderer. Every time that I have attempted to do that, I do not get in on the back end. I don't get pushed to the front of the line. They don't care who I am. I still have to stand there with everybody else. Generally, when I've tried to get what I'm after, yeah, as long as I'm ready and have been aware, then yeah, it wasn't like it was gone in 1 second, right? That's what people think. Those are the people who don't put in any sort of effort whatsoever. If you don't put in any effort whatsoever, you're not going to get your hands on this stuff. You do have to put in some type of effort, and it really isn't that bad. A lot of people will say, we wouldn't have to be dealing with this issue if people like Metal Complex weren't pushing these things. So, listen, what's popular is going to be popular not necessarily because people on YouTube or social media say, oh, it's really great. It sure puts a lot more attention on it, but if the thing ends up actually not being good, people are going to figure that out on their own. The Hinderer knives were already popular well before I hit the scene. And they've only gotten more popular, and I would assume they would be popular with or without my help and various other, YouTube reviewers and people on into whoever, whatever you want to call us. I hate the word influencer. I hate it. Yeah, one way or another, like, it's not like people are just like, oh, I'll just accept whatever's good and I'll just have it and I'll go, I guess this is good. No, people kind of decide. That's the reason why Hinderers are so popular, because people get them and go, oh, wow, it actually is really good, right? So that's what's going to happen. My point here is that if everything were just magically available and convenient, we live in a world where convenience is literally at our fingertips, right? So we've become spoiled in that when we want something, generally information, we have it, right? You want food? You get food. Boom. We don't have to hunt for it anymore. We don't have to go out and throw spears at a buffalo or anything. We don't have to do that. We can just have food. We don't even have to go to the grocery store if we don't want to. You can have almost anything delivered, right? So, and that's the same thing with people do their Christmas shopping. They order stuff, electronics. They order luxury items, whatever you want. We live in a world where most of that stuff you can acquire it. So when we're denied that type of stuff, when we're denied the thing that we want, we get fussy. We get, nah, why? I want it and I can't have it. Man, that's what I see that all the time. Man, I've been hunting for certain things for so long, and people say, well, you buy stuff all the time. Like you've got this collection of knives. Every one of those, there's been a certain amount of time dedicated to figuring out not only what I want, but how to acquire it, right? And yeah, sometimes the channel makes certain acquisitions easier, but I have definitely had to wait and stand in line, for the vast majority of the things that have come into my possession. Absolutely, right? I've gotten lucky, real lucky a few times. But that's the thing. There just are certain things where, it's not like why doesn't Hinderer just make more? Guys, if Hinderer could pump out 1,000 knives a day, don't you think he would do that? And this sounds like really condescending, like I'm talking down to people. I'm not. I know that the vast majority of people watching, that you guys know this, but I'm talking to the few people that I get who just don't understand why Hinderer just doesn't I'll just go rub my magic Hinderer genie lamp and just wish for more. It doesn't work like that. Rick Hinderer is still a small operation. He's not Benchmade or Spyderco or CRKT or Gerber. Same with the Demco brothers. They can't just do that, right? They're making as many as possible. That's absolutely the case. And any type of minimum effort will get it for you. But also, enjoy that hunt. Enjoy the fact that it is hard to get. It makes it that much more special. Now, as long as I have spent enjoying these models, right? As long as I have spent buying these things, and as little as they have changed over the years, I would say it's just as fun, it's just as exciting to acquire one now as it was back in 2014 when I picked up my first one, when I was finally able to get one after that shortage ended. It's just as exciting because it is a big deal. It's not just it is a point and click experience, but you have to point and click at the right time. You have to be ready, right? Now, that will still leave some people out of it. It is what it is. Supply and demand, right? It's going to be the case. Things are going to be popular in waves. Eventually, popularity for something ends, and it will allow the people who have been waiting that long to finally acquire it. That will end. Hinderer knives in this form will not perpetually be as popular as they are forever. Eventually, availability will rise up to meet or exceed demand, in which case you will be able to get these things. But the weight it's important. We've talked about this before. The weight and the acquisition in and of itself is important. Same thing goes for Demco knives. These are arguably harder to get, right? I got lucky with both of these, unbelievably lucky. And that's, part of the reason why I still have them. But it's one of those things where letting it crumble your world. There are definitely, let me tell you this, there are definitely dozens of models out there that I would buy right now if they were available. And this is outside of Hinderer and Demco. But I can't get them. I can't, there's nothing I can do except wait and hope that I get some type of indication that one of these models is going to be somewhere at a specific time. And then I can go and try to get it. And I emphasize that, try. Because with this stuff, it's an attempt, right? There are definitely production models that are available right now that I'm slightly interested in, I could go get. But I have this fierce interest in a lot of things that are, it's the same thing with any of you guys. Anybody, an interest with anything. If it appeals to me aesthetically, and it is, in my case, I generally try to go after things that are made in the United States. I really like that the water in the background. I really like that $400 to $800 territory. I really like that. I like the monochromatic titanium kind of overbuilt look, right? So I got specific things that I'm after. There's lots of things in that territory that I would buy if I could get my hands on them right now, but I just can't. So the way that I think of it is, well, I could sit here and, kick and scream and moan and complain that the stuff I want isn't available right now for me to just throw money at and have it fall into my lap. Or I could just, think, Well, at some point, maybe I will get my hands on it. Maybe that it will come along and the timing will be right and I'll be ready to go and it'll feel so good having waited and, budgeted correctly. Of course, you work for the money that you put towards these things, right? You budget correctly, you're ready to go. And then when the time, comes, then you go after it and it feels good. And again, I understand people say you have a massive collection of stuff that a lot of people want, right? So it feels condescending for me to be sitting here and just like telling people, just wait. Oh, just wait. I understand. I believe me, I get how that comes off. Regardless of what your collection is, because if you think my collection's big, there are other people who have massive, way bigger collection. And if you think my Hinderer collection is big, a lot of Hinderer nuts, right? A lot of the true Hinderer nuts have dozens. There's a guy on the collectors group that has close to 100 Hinderers, right? Now that might make some people mad. Don't let that make you mad, right? That is going to be the case. Anything that becomes popular, you will have the collector crowd jumping in and collecting it. And a lot of these guys are not collecting them as an investment or with plans to flip them. They collect them because they like them, because that's the only thing that they care about is that one specific thing. That's going to be the case. There is no amount of complaining you can do is going to stop people from doing that. This is enthusiast territory. That bug is in all of us, right? If you have not found a model that makes you love it so much that you would collect multiple of the same thing, believe me, it will happen. That bug is in your subconscious. It's there waiting to come out, just for the first time that you come across something like that. This is true of, I would say, any type of enthusiast market, not just knives. I always relate things to cars, but I can't tell you how many times as a car salesman, how many times somebody would come in and it would be somebody with money, a lot of money. A lot of times we had some of the same clients come in and buy multiple cars per year. And I don't know what it is about some people who have tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions I don't know. I have no idea what type of money we're talking about here, but they just go nuts for certain types of vehicles. And they would come in and say, I want to put an order down on, this was bad. I was selling during the final days of the Viper. This was when the ACR was a bit, and this guy came in, he said, I want to order one. And we were like, well, we can't. And he was like, what do you mean we can't? You can't. I have the money. I want to buy it. And we were like, no, we can't. They're not accepting any more orders. They're not accepting the bill. This guy assumed that these things were lined up on a shelf waiting. And I'm not saying the XM24 is like a Dodge Viper. But the same idea applies here, is that, it's like I have the money, I should be able to have this item. I am owed this item simply because I have the money. But it's not the case. The fact is that there were a lot of people who were aware of the release of this special edition Viper, which I don't even remember how much that thing costs, long before. This guy was not weeks late. He was months late on the finish line for this thing. And it took a long time to explain to him, this was somebody who clearly was used to getting what they wanted. It took a long time for us, I say us because it was the team at the time. It was two salesmen, a sales manager and a finance manager, who were all trying to explain to this guy, we can't make Dodge make you a Viper. We can't do that. Right? It's just not the way that it works. This guy threw this gigantic fit, right? Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Now I understand, it's like, did Dodge have the capacity technically to make more of those? Probably. So that may have been a sort of intentionally sort of closing in this collector, for the people who did get their hands on that ACR, that special edition ACR, makes them feel more exclusive, right? That exists. It's frustrating, but it exists. And again, there's no amount of whining and complaint. There's no reason to be bothered by the fact that exists. You spend your time doing things and trying to go down paths that don't cause friction or mental distress. Because believe me, there are infinite avenues out there that you can take that can cause you frustration and mental distress. But there are also just as many avenues that you can go down that will bring you happiness, and you just need to try to step through those doors, right? Make attempts at viable options. And eventually, right, you make enough attempts, you throw enough. If you're 50 yards from a stop sign, right, 50 yards, that's a long ways. You're probably not going to hit that stop sign with a rock the first time you throw it. If you only throw one rock and you miss and you give up, then you're just never going to. But if you keep throwing rocks at it, or even at 100 yards, right? I don't know if I could throw a rock 100 yards. That's a long ways, right? But if you keep doing it, eventually you're going to hit it. Watch. I'm sure you guys have watched Dude Perfect. What they don't show you is how many attempts they made at dropping a basketball out of a helicopter to get it to land in the basketball goal. But if they stop, they won't hit it, right? And that sounds really corny. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Everybody knows that. So keep making attempts at it. That has literally been the entire, the process that I have always gone through with knives. If there's something I want, right, I'm gonna, a lot of the stuff that I go after now, I know immediately that it's not gonna be easy. But I just keep throwing rocks at it. That's all I can do, is just take every opportunity to try. And the same thing is true of everything in life. If there's something that you want, you have to keep trying. Now, obviously, that is not universally applicable, so don't break the law and don't be a creep. But you should take opportunities to try as many times as possible, because eventually, and I'm living proof of this, I know, again, they're like, oh, well, he gets special favors because he's no, not really. I know some of you guys are convinced that I get I get special treatment periodically, but I'd say like 1% of the time, right? So even as somebody who's invested in this world, makes content that is beneficial for retailers, knife makers, manufacturers, no, most of the time I have to stand in line. I don't get a free pass. There are a lot of people who follow me on Instagram, 20,000 and 64,000 here on YouTube. I'm not big enough to pull for people to do me special favors. Even, I maybe at 1 million subs, maybe then, right? But I'm not big enough, not important enough, not popular enough for that to be the case. So I still have to stand in line. I still have to throw rocks at stop signs, metaphorically. That's all I can do. So I would advise you guys to do the same thing, but it's that season. Stuff's going to roll in. Be paying attention. Every day, I get a message somewhere on YouTube or on Instagram of someone saying, I finally got my Hinderer. I finally got my Demco, and I am so happy with it. Thank you. I kept going, I kept trying, and I finally got one. Some people, they go to the secondary market, right? And I would advise against that because you got to pay a lot of money. But the people who did that, okay, whatever, it's your money, right? But I get messages from people saying, I did finally snag a Hinderer at this retailer thanks to this post, or I just kept trying and I'm happy and thank you. So there are people out there who do that and are successful in their multiple attempts. This is kind of a pep talk. This is the knife world. It is a continuous and very competitive hunt. And it's fun if you let it be fun. It will create misery if you let it create misery. But these elements here, these dark and light elements, are part of it. You can't just come into this thinking it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows and you never have to deal with any frustrations. It's going to be there. Some people are better at it. There are lots of people who are better at hunting knives than me. Obviously, I can't get another stonewashed 3.5 inch. This is what all I want is I want a 3.5 inch stonewashed non-flipper is what I want. So the next slicer, the next spear point, the next spanto, and ideally the next fullard spear that drops, that's what I want. But there haven't been for a little bit. And there was a little drop of a few, and I missed it. And I was like, no, but okay, more will come, right? And you know what? By the time a lot of this stuff does finally come for a lot of us, you may have moved on to something else. Oh, well, if you moved on to something else and it made you happy, then okay, right? We will never exist in a world where every last little thing that we want, it will be attainable. And if we lived in a world, I've said this many times, if we lived in a world where everything that we wanted, we could get whenever we wanted, it would be really depressing. It would be, just imagine that. Yeah, it'd be fun for a little bit, but it'd get real depressing real quick. I think that we need to be denied things. We need to be told no. We need to have barriers set up. There needs to be at least that's how I feel internally. I want to be denied things periodically, so that it keeps this whole thing interesting. I hope that this was entertaining. I understand that at least 10 minutes of this was me repeating myself, but then again, that's how the series has always been, and that's how my content has always been. This is all just meant for entertainment, so I hope I hope I didn't make anybody mad. As per usual, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.